Welcome, everyone. Not Happy New Year yet, but happy day, good evening, morning, night, or day to you all, or afternoon as well. Wherever this is meeting and greeting you, I hope that you're having a wonderful day, a happy day, apparently. And the tape is rolling. We are live, y'all. Live City. We are talking childhood memories, childhood wounds, inner child. We are going there. We're going to Neverland, y'all. Neverland. Let's go. Let me just say, if you have any topic requests, if you'd like to be put on the subscription list to be receiving these podcasts first, go ahead and send me a text message or a direct message on Instagram, Agent K21 Podcast, or Instagram or Twitter, Agent K21. Hit me up. Let me know what topics you'd like to hear. All right. Also, if you'd like to be a feature or a guest star or get a shout out, hit me up as well for those. Should be having some features coming up very soon, so stay tuned for that. I hope you guys had a good Friday, which was yesterday. Agent K21 Music releases a new song every Friday, a new track. If you're looking for an instrumental, if you are a musician, an artist, a poet, a dancer, a entertainer, a business owner, if you're looking for commercial music, background music, I do provide tracks starting at $20 going up. Also, if you are in the videography ministry, if that's even a thing, if you do video work and you like your video to be edited, I also provide editing, and you can email me or send me a message for the pricing and cost for that. All right, I'm all over the map today. So we are talking about childhood wounding, childhood in general. And this topic of this series is going to be Neverland. Neverland, for those of you who do not know what Neverland is, Neverland is a fictional island featured in the work of J.M. Beer and those based on them. It is an imaginary It is an imaginary faraway place where Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, the Lost Boys, and other mystical creatures and beings live. Although not all people who come to Neverland cease to age, its best-known residents famously refuse to grow up. So we're talking about childhood and the beliefs that we carry from childhood to adulthood, particularly those that refuse to grow up. And so we're talking about inner child work. We're talking about what is the inner child? Who is the inner child? Does everyone have an inner child? And what's wrong with not growing up? Well, let me just say, leave your judgments at the door. There's nothing wrong with anything. So do your thing. Do it unapologetically. But for those of us who want to mature these aspects of ourselves that we have rejected, denied, suppressed, abused, abandoned, etc., this is the place to do that. So drop your hat and let's get right into it. So today I'm actually going to share a memory that I had. This comes from a previously recorded episode from, not even an episode. This was a Instagram live video I took. So I took an Instagram live video back in May 15th, 2019 to be exact. And I just extracted that audio from that live video. And I'm going to play that clip here for you shortly. But just to give a little bit of context, this is me speaking about a childhood memory, a childhood trigger. I was in the car driving away from Walmart. Those of you who saw the live video, you might know what I'm talking about. But I was leaving the store, was getting harassed by security to check my card and all this stuff. And they checked my card and, everything's fine. But I get to my car and I'm like, oh, snap. I actually didn't pay for that item. And I'm debating if I should go back. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to go back. And this is a blessing in disguise. This is good stuff. And it triggered a moment in my childhood where a similar situation happened. So I'm going to play that audio clip for you guys as I walk you through the process that I go through personally as I'm integrating these memories, because let me just say, there's nothing wrong with you. We all have a skewed childhood. Not all of us, but to some varying degrees, we all do. So yes, all of us. And we're going to talk about attachment styles and talk about all that kind of stuff later, more in depth. But right now, I just want to share a memory with you guys and just let you know that no matter where you are, no matter what you've been through, that it's all serves a divine purpose, and there's no mistakes, and there's nothing to be ashamed of from your past, from your present, or your future. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to run from. And we are talking about embracing and loving all aspects of ourselves, especially the things we feel we need to reject, be ashamed of, or disown. So I'm going to share this memory with you guys, and I hope that it helps you all. Maybe find those memories in yourself, maybe reintegrate some of those memories for you as well. And we're going to go from there. So stay tuned. But what this moment produced in me, or for me, was realizing it took me back to a memory that I had buried so deep I completely forgot about it, honestly. And it took me back to a moment of being, I don't know, 5 or 6, probably 6. I was coming home from, I used to take swim lessons. Actually, I don't know if this was the same day, but it feels like it was all the same day, same week, whatever. I'm coming home from swim lessons, and my parents decide we're going to stop at, CVS or whatever the fuck it was back then. We stop somewhere, and I'm playing with this little toy, and I'm like, man, I really want this toy. And I'm playing with this toy, I'm like, man, I really want this. I think it was a Dino Fred Flintstone toy or some shit. And I'm playing with this toy, and I'm like, I didn't bother to ask to get it because I knew, we didn't spend money on shit that wasn't gonna go into our bellies or, profit us in some way. So I wasn't gonna ask for this little toy. I knew it was some garbage anyway. That was the training that my younger mind already had at 6 years old. It's like, okay, we're not gonna buy this. I'm not even gonna ask. That's a lot right there to unpack. Anyway, so I'm playing with this toy, and we're leaving, everything's cool. I get in the car, I realize I still have this fucking toy on me. Granted, I'm 6, I'm like, shit, I got this toy on me. I'm like, Mom, Dad, look what the fuck I still have on me. I got this motherfucking toy. Granted, I probably wasn't cussing that much at 6, but I did cuss pretty much early in life, so I might have been thinking that. So I'm like, I got this toy. And they're like, you stole. Now, it didn't occur to me until this moment right now. It's one thing when you know the shit that you're working on and dealing with and whatever, but it's a whole nother thing when that scenario, that situation, that memory comes back and you're like, fuck, this is attributing to how I felt, or how the beliefs I hold, or what have you, or the traumas I've been through. And it seems like something so minor, but it's like, whoa. And I'm like, they're like, you stole. How could you have done that? You know what I mean? You're breaking the law. Now, what makes it worse is I'm already feeling guilty because I'm like, fuck, I wasn't even trying to get this toy. Now I got it, and I don't even feel like I deserve it now. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I just, whatever. Okay. So I'm dealing with my own guilt and shame. My parents are adding on to it, going, oh, you stole. Oh, shit, you done stole, right? Then it gets 10 times worse because a police officer pulls up behind us. And my dad goes, the cops are here to get you. You're not going to be able to live with us anymore now. I'm home now. So, deuce. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for staying with me, staying tuned. That was a real factual memory from a childhood memory that I had as I was leaving Walmart. Now, the end of the story kind of got cut off a little bit, but it basically was me feeling terrified that I was going to be taken away. And I feel like for those of us who have abandonment issues or separation anxiety, we have this fear of being taken away, or that we will be taken, or that something will be taken from us. And for those of us who have experienced any type of trauma, whether it's being the black sheep, the golden child, the rebel of the family, the enmeshed families, abusive, like physically, verbally abusive, emotionally neglectful family households, we experience anxiety and depression a little bit differently than most people. Now, most people may experience highs and lows of anxiety and depression, but for those of us who have trauma in our history, it is more encoded in our DNA and our core. And so the way that we have to operate and navigate with those systems intact is a little bit different. So be kind to yourself if you are dealing with any anxiety, depression, anything like that. Be kind to yourself, because I read somewhere it said, your wounds, your trauma is not your fault. You didn't cause this to happen to you. You were a child. You didn't, attract this to yourself. The caregivers that were responsible for us, the society that was responsible for us, failed us, as they fail everyone. And we all suffer. And, for those of us who struggle with loneliness or depression, like I said, find comfort knowing that you're not struggling on your own, that we all have hardships, we all have trials and tribulations, we all have ups and downs, we all go through something in this life. If you live long enough, you've gone through something. And something that one of my psychology professors said in undergrad was, no one escapes childhood unscarred. I'm going to say that again. No one escapes childhood unscarred. So even the best of childhood, your parents cannot protect you from everything. Your caregivers cannot protect you from everything. Life is going to happen. And, you can see that as a privilege. Be privileged to know that life is happening to you. So if you're in a dark time, if you're struggling in any type of way, see that as a badge of honor, because you've lived to earn those struggles, and find connection in that, knowing that we all have pain, we all have love, we all have all these things. Now, of course, what you focus on is what you get more of, but sometimes not necessarily the case. Because I think that if we don't focus on what is actually availing us, what is actually in front of us, we can go into what is called denial. And what we deny doesn't cease to exist, but instead we overlay our reality with the fantasy. And so we still have all these things attributing to our current existence. We still have all these things happening, and we're wondering, why is it still happening? I'm positive focus. I'm doing these affirmations, these mantras. Why is it still happening? Well, it's still happening because there's a subconscious tape that is continuing to play. Now, for those who don't know what the subconscious is below the awareness of what is conscious. So what I've learned is to not run from our emotions, but to integrate all of our emotions, especially the ones that are painful and negative, because the more that you can sit with discomfort, the more you can sit with yourself, the more you can sit with anyone else. So instead of running from, I feel depressed, let me go distract myself. I feel sad, let me go distract myself. We want to actually sit with that emotion and say, how can I be unconditionally present with you right now? Because that's what happened in our childhoods. Our caregivers were not unconditionally present with those emotions. You're mad, you're upset, you're angry. That's not an acceptable thing. You got to be happy right now. You got to be happy-go-lucky. So guess what? That gets pushed out of your consciousness, pushed into your subconscious. So you don't even realize all the anger, all the rage, all the powerlessness that you may feel, because we've denied it. We've rejected it. We've had to get rid of it. And we try to cope. That is a coping strategy that is a recipe for disaster, essentially, because the law of attraction is always operating, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And so as we integrate our inner child, we are making those things that are unconscious, our subconscious, become aware. And instead of rejecting them and trying to get rid of them, we're saying, hey, I love you completely, as you are, where you are, how you are. And that does something vibrationally to those situations. Now, there's a difference between stewing and sitting and just being overwhelmed with the emotion and being overtaken by the emotions. There's a difference when you sit with something and you hold space for it versus letting it hold and create space over you. So understand that you can increase your vibration at any time, in any way. And there's nothing wrong with anything that you've gone through and anything that you're facing at this time. But I want to get back to Neverland, because Neverland is a place that we go where we don't want to grow up. Now, the inner child, for those who don't know what an inner child is we age, but we don't grow up. We age, but we don't mature. And your inner child is basically your childhood self that is always present within you. And I think a beautiful depiction of this, little fun fact, I'm such a crybaby when it comes to movies. I'm so sensitive, and I used to not want to be, but now I see it as such a superpower, because so many people are so numb and so cut off from their emotions and their feelings that I'm realizing and recognizing it as the gift and power that it is. But a movie that depicts the inner child is the Elton John movie, Rocket Man. Now, Rocket Man, it spoke to me in such a deep way. And in that movie, there's a depiction of the inner child, a great way of showing that inner child is still within us. Even as Elton John is a grown-ass man, this inner child is still in there saying, who's going to be there for me? Are you going to play with me now? Are you going to listen to me? And, we reject parts of ourselves to fit into society. That is our cultural conditioning. Now, I see in future societies, we won't have to do this, because we'll actually be operating out of our natural gifts and not out of what is going to proceed in this mental slavery that we're all engaged in. But I see a future day where children are actually going to be brought up without having to fear the dark. Children are going to be brought up without having to cut off parts of themselves. And the way we create that is by creating that within ourselves. The healthier us, the healthier our next generation can be. And that is what I'm striving for. That's what my goal is to create a healthier next generation for my children and for yours. And so when I think about the inner child, we want to really reparent that inner child and be the parent that was maybe absent, or that wasn't what we thought a parent should be, or just whatever. And it's not to say that our parents were bad. They just didn't know any better. Nobody taught anybody. There's no manual that comes with, hey, don't fuck up this child. Well, guess what? You're going to fuck up your child, because that's a part of the development, because there's no perfect person. So if you're a parent out there, there's no perfect parent. There's no perfect child. There's no need to add on the layers of, I failed my children. No, you didn't. You can't. It's impossible to fail your children. It's impossible to fail at anything. The only time you fail is when you stop, when you give up completely, when you stop. And even that is up for debate. I don't believe that's a failure either. That's a choice, not a failure. And so the inner child work that we are talking about here is all about integration and revisiting those parts that do not want to grow up. And so we're going to talk more, but I wanted to share this memory with you guys and how to really integrate those memories when they occur. When they occur, you want to take 3 steps, I'm going to say. I'm making this up on the fly. I don't know what these steps are, but you want to take 3 steps. First, you want to breathe. Everyone take a deep breath. You want to breathe. You want to really sit and just breathe, because this may hit you at an unpredictable moment. This may hit you with a lot of unpredictable emotions. This may hit you at a time where you feel like, I can't deal with this crap right now. So first and foremost, breathe. Breathing is so important. It keeps you in the present moment. It helps bring energy to your body. So breathe. Do it right now. Breathe. And after you breathe, the next step you want to do is you want to step into the observer seat. You want to let this whole thing play out. Let this memory play out like you're watching it on a VHS movie. Okay, not VHS, Blu-ray. Okay, not Blu-ray, streaming service. You got this thing streaming, all right? You're watching your own Netflix movie. You're having your own Netflix and chill with yourself, right? You're watching this movie of your life from an outside perspective. Now, 3 ways you can watch this movie. First person, experiencing the whole triggered emotion, the whole past memory, painful memory that's come up, experiencing it first person, just letting it play out without any judgment. Let it play out. Feel all of it as if you were living it again. Now, I know this may be hard. It is hard, not maybe. It is hard. So you may want to do this with a trusted friend, a therapist. Again, I'm not trying to give any legal or therapeutic advice necessarily. So this is done in a safe place. So you want to make sure you're doing it in a safe place. That's also very important. So if you're in a grocery store and you can't do this right now, you might want to wait until you can. So first step is to breathe. The second step is to observe by either sitting in the moment first person and then outside of it as a third observation. So you want to stand outside of the moment as your adult self watching this happen, watching whatever situation happen. And then you want to give to that child, that self, that younger you. You want to give to that child what was missing in that moment. So if that child needs a listening ear, listen to that child. If that child needs a hug, physically touch that memory in your mind's eye. Physically touch that memory. If that child needs some encouragement, encourage. Whatever you need in that moment, it's okay to grant yourself. It's okay to grant your own needs. It's okay to meet those needs. And after you've breathed, after you've sat in it, you want to bring it up to the conscious awareness to where you are now. So you've sat in it first person, you've sat in it third person. Now you're bringing it into the present moment. Okay, you're bringing it into your present awareness. I had a third step and I just lost it. What was it? But yeah, you want to bring that to the present moment. And there's some really good books and techniques on how to reintegrate and to reparent yourself. And I'll give a list of books probably at the end of this series, at the end of this Neverland series. And I'll put that in the description so you know there will be book references. But you want to make sure you do this in a safe place. Either do this in the presence of somebody else, especially if it is a very traumatic memory that is surfacing up to you. You want to make sure that, because this can re-trigger you. This can cause emotions to spiral. This can, especially if you have any psychological or mental disabilities. I don't even like that word. But if you have any back history, this could potentially, have a reoccurring event happen. So you want to be very gentle with yourself, and you also want to do this in a safe space. So whether that's in a therapist's office or with a trusted friend, or just with yourself, however, you know what you need. And so it's okay to grant that to yourself. And so let me think of how I've done it when that memory came up. So breathing, definitely. Reintegrating it by sitting with it. And then you want to, after you've done all that, you want to make sure it's very important also to make sure you're not judging the memory or judging yourself for how you respond to the memory. Patience is key. Also, acceptance and unconditional love is key. Because what happens is, because time is endless, time is such an illusion, that when you go back to the past and you heal a past memory, it actually changes the entire timeline of your future endeavors and your present situation. So you can actually heal the past by changing the narrative of that situation. So after you've sat with it long enough, you want to release it, essentially, is the last step. You release it. And when I say release it, I mean you accept that it's happened. You embrace how it's affected you, how it's changed you for the better. And you release that memory. You send it up to the highest form. It's no longer yours. It's happened. The traumatic experience has happened, and it no longer has control over you. So you want to release it from you. It doesn't change what happened, doesn't change, the situation, but it does release you from the binds of your past. And it does create a little bit more freedom. And I'm going to have more of these steps listed out for you guys in more detail in the future episodes. But make sure you're present with yourself and you're kind to yourself and very gentle through this process. It's not an easy one. Healing is not easy. Healing is not pretty. It's a sliding scale. There are going to be days that are better than others. There are going to be days that are, not so great. But the point is you keep making progress. And your inner child is crying out for integration. And the greatest thing you can do for yourself is to reparent yourself and to love those aspects of yourself. And I know it's so easy to numb it out with, drugs, sex, TV, cleaning, any type of addiction we can get into. We can, shopping, especially right now with the holidays coming up. We don't want to think about, how we didn't get our favorite toy for Christmas and how painful that was. We don't want to think about that right now because we're going to go shop it off or whatever. But it's okay to let those memories surface, and it's okay to be with them, completely present with them. And it may seem, the biggest thing I can say is don't judge yourself, because it may seem silly to you. It may seem, you might be self-critical of yourself, like, oh, that was such a dumb memory, or da-da-da-da-da. Let's go ahead and throw that kind of, let's wash that soap out of that mouth. Let's get those vocabulary out of there. There's no such thing as a bad experience or a dumb experience. It's your experience, and it's okay to own that experience. And it doesn't matter what other people have said about said experience. That's yours, and no one else can judge that for you. And so take the time to really nourish your mind with positive thinking. And I'm not just saying positive thinking to brush over all of the crummy stuff, but I mean, instead of being so hard on yourself by saying, oh, that was stupid or that was dumb, you could say, I learned from this. Think about what you learned. Think about what you gained. Think about all the many benefits, and even if it's hard to find a benefit, even if you just find one good thing out of a negative situation, that traumatic thing that happened to you is not your fault, and it doesn't have to define you. That right there, you can take that and say, you know what, this happened to me so that I can help someone else, or that happened to me so that I could learn from this. Find your own unique way to be at peace with whatever is going on in your world, in your life. And so I've talked much longer than I expected, but that's when you're in your sweet spot. It's because the time just goes and you don't even realize it. These last couple episodes, I've been like, "Ooh, child, I'm kind of struggling," but yeah, we're gonna talk more about healing and integrating the inner child, and more so integrating, because you're not broken. You don't need fixing, and to heal is just like it's not really, you're not broken. That's what I'm trying to say. But healing is a process. So it's not an overnight fix. It's not an overnight thing that's going to happen. It's going to take time. It's going to take a process. And wherever you are on that journey, I'm proud of you. And I'm so glad that you're showing up here to talk with us and listen to these messages. And I hope that they're helping. continue to show up, continue to send them out to your friends. And we're going to go back to Neverland, because guess what? We don't have to grow up, but we do got to mature. We don't have to do anything. It's a choice. But if you're going to choose to mature, if you're going to choose to help that child grow up, that inner child grow up, this is the place to be, because, we're going to help get some of those beliefs and some of those mature developments getting consistent on them. So I'm in the process. You're in the process. I appreciate you showing up, and be blessed, be well, and until next time.